I'm sticking with the theme of investment and how it coincides with fear. I am going to talk a little bit about Bluetongue, about which there are increasing amounts coming from the Animal and Plant Health Agency and DEFRA, and particularly they've just sent out an email to their stakeholders talking about important changes to the restrictions in place in Wales. Now, specifically, this is talking about vaccinated animals with the BTV3 serotype having been able, or at least granted, the ability to attend English markets within 20 kilometres of the Welsh border. They're also keen to point out that, quote, contrary to popular belief, where animals test positive for BTV3, neither the premises or the animal are put under restrictions, so keepers are urged to report suspicion immediately. I'll go on to explain why I think that is. Now, the narrative is tightly controlled when it comes to the emergence of disease, and indeed the government have just republished the guidance on how infections emerge, giving you absolutely no room to doubt that between 60 and 80% of emerging infections are derived from animal sources. So we must fear the animals, and that these infections have been emerging for thousands of years as interactions between humans, animals, and their environments have increased and changed. So bear that in mind. Also, bear that in mind when considering the Pirbright Institute, which of course is where an awful lot of this leads back to, and its very close relationship with not just the Animal and Plant Health Agency, but as shown on screen, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I will just walk you through the steps for investment yielding dividends. We see here from the Pirbright Institute that they've had a veterinary vaccine innovation and manufacturing to improve animal health. Now, what they're really talking about is being supported by the Gates Foundation. This goes back to 2023, and to make it absolutely clear how the corruption in this particular story runs, we're just going to listen to a clip of Bill Gates speaking about this. I have played it before, but it's always worth a listen.
Invested $10 billion in vaccinations over the last 2 decades, and you figured out the return on investment for that. And it kind of stunned me. Can you walk us through the math?
Well, it's pretty impressive that when you take these vaccines, get them to be very inexpensive by making big volume commitments, have that right relationship with the private sector, get the delivery system so they're really getting the coverage out there, you literally save millions of lives. And 20 years ago, when we created these new multilateral organizations, Gavi for the vaccines, Global Fund for HIV, TB and malaria, we didn't know they'd be successful. They've gone through lots of challenges about making sure the money gets there, making sure the efficiency is right. But as we look at upcoming replenishments for those, and we've got so much distraction politically that the international needs like this could get eclipsed if we're not careful, we see a phenomenal track record. It's been $100 billion overall that the world's put in. Our foundation is a bit more than $10 billion, but we feel there's been over a 20-to-1 return. So if you just look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared to anything else.
There we are, 20-to-1 return and a great big grin, as you said it. As I said prior to the clip, corruption, there's absolutely no other word that should be used to describe it. And of course, we go to 2024 to see what happens. So we've got the Pirbright Institute talking about accelerating global vaccine development. Now, the most recent update within the last week is that there's now a partnership to advance mRNA vaccines for livestock. And again, I point you towards the fact that there are, of course, many more vaccines given to animals than there are humans. Now, part of the problem, people like Ian Brown, who, of course, has a relationship not just with Pirbright Institute, but formerly worked for APHA, and indeed he has been involved with the World Animal Health Organization and indeed the Food and Agriculture Organization, both of which are funded by Gates. So there is absolute cross-pollination, and the sites, Weybridge and Pirbright, are only 12 miles apart. So absolutely hand in glove, one might say. Now, this, as I said, does shift the focus away from slaughter on suspicion. And I point you towards the vaccine guidance, and in particular the market authorization. Just a reminder that these vaccines were authorized under exceptional circumstances. So, of course, we're moving away from slaughter on suspicion because we are able to vaccinate everything. And it's a driver of great profit and, of course, comes with much greater element of control and surveillance. Now, on a related note, in terms of the lack of due care and attention. I would just point you to some of the scaremongering that's going on from the BBC and indeed the government about chikungunya, supposedly delivered by mosquitoes, and indeed a warning just now that they've had to withdraw a vaccine following very rare fatal reactions, which will sound very familiar. But don't worry, because the vaccine will be available on the UK market from the 18th of June 2025. So never mind those very rare fatal reactions. Is there any need to worry? And indeed, are people going to talk it up? This is the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control, which talks about 90 related deaths across the worldwide reporting system for chikungunya. But of course, given those statistics, why on earth would anyone be considering taking a pharmaceutical product against it? Now, related to this, in that mosquitoes are reckoned to breed in areas of stagnant water, the National Drought Group talking about addressing nationally significant water shortfall, and they've got a piece on how to save water at home. I made reference to this becoming possibly jeopardized, given that the colonial administrations have indeed prohibited people from collecting water decades ago, and indeed the Chinese authorities are reported to be doing the same thing. But what you can do to save water is to delete old emails and pictures, and that is absolutely true. This is off the government website this morning under the "It's Your Fault Again" heading. So that's the direction that we seem to be going in.
But we're building data centers.
We are building data centers, as reported on many